You're watching a More Beautiful World podcast with Susan Renee, a channel for those of you with open minds and courageous hearts who are looking for guidance on your trauma healing and personal transformation journeys. Here, I share with you the powers of intentional plant medicine use, along with other holistic therapies and spiritual guidance to guide you on your path forward. I'm so eager to share with you what I've learned in working with these sacred plant medicines on my own journey, including the knowing that what we do to heal ourselves, we do to heal the whole collective. Join me as I share my experiences, knowledge, and wisdom to guide your trauma healing so you can transform your life, and so that together we can create the more beautiful world we all know is possible. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of A More Beautiful World. In this episode, I'm going to share with you how you can begin the process of change and transformation in an easy and fun way. And that is by making micro shifts in your routine. In this episode, I'll be sharing what micro shifts are, why they are important to fuel change, and how they lay the foundation for massive transformation. I'll also cover some micro shift ideas that you can implement and some key things to think about to make them the most potent and powerful for your transformation journey. So if you are eager to learn how to make easy micro shifts to begin your process of change and to pave the way for your massive transformation, then this episode is for you. A quick ask before we dive into this episode. If you are listening on any of the audio platforms out there like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please drop me in a rating or review. I would love to know what you think about this podcast, and it is your support and your ratings that help me get these messages out into the world. And make sure you follow the pod while you're there too, so you never miss an episode. And of course, for my viewers watching me on YouTube, remember to like this video, drop in a comment of what you think, and subscribe for more. So I am seeing so clearly these days how addiction and these cycles that we're in of addiction and suffering really are broader than I ever imagined. In fact, I'm working on an episode for you all right now that will be an exploration of addiction and on this more expanded definition of addiction, and really the way in which we define it and how it shows up in our lives. But as I've been thinking about this bigger topic, I keep coming back to a foundational aspect that really is critical and key in paving the foundation for massive transformation as you move through breaking the cycle of addiction and suffering, which is where this podcast was born out of today. You see, when you are on the journey of recovery, of integration, and deep transformation, the goal is to connect to and embody your true self. The cycles of addiction and suffering can keep you stuck. They can keep you disconnected from your true self, and they can prevent you from embodying your true self. And when you are stuck in these cycles over time, you actually begin to create alter egos, and you begin operating as these alter egos. It is these alter egos, which are also known as the addictive selves, that exist mainly because of limiting beliefs and stories that we're still subscribed to. And so the work of transformation is to unsubscribe yourself from those old beliefs, from those old stories that are no longer serving you, and plant the seeds of new beliefs. And you feed those and you allow them to flourish and thrive. And while we'd all love to have this transformation happen overnight, it just doesn't. Just as if you're going to go plant a garden, and you go plant those seeds in the garden, you don't wake up the next day expecting all of the plants to be producing, fruits and vegetables or whatever you planted, right? The reality is that transformation takes time. And it takes patience and persistence and a whole host of other character traits to make profound transformation happen. And often, as I have found it for myself and for my clients, it is the beginning of this process of change that can be the most difficult. I've kept coming back to this foundational aspect, which I'm now deciding to call creating micro shifts, which is what I want to talk to you about today. Because I believe it is in making these micro shifts in your routine that you begin to disrupt your current patterns, your current stories, your current belief systems, and you start to lay a foundation for massive transformation to take place in your life. So, again, today I'm going to take you through what microshifts are, why they are important on your transformation journey, and how you can incorporate them into your life. I'll also share ideas for microshifts that you can make on your journey. And of course, I'll be including some ways that we can fuel your success as you implement these microshifts into your life too. So, with that, let's dive in. If you've been following the pod for a while, I always like to start with definitions. So, what exactly are microshifts? Microshifts are, as the name implies, small shifts in the way that you do things, or they can even be a small change in the way that you are choosing to be or to act. These small changes can be anything in the physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual realms, or have those aspects to them. But you are literally choosing, again, some small action or way of being that disrupts the patterns you normally repeat as you shift into another one. So hopefully it's pretty simple for you to understand, what a micro shift is. Really, again, micro shift, think of small change. So now that you know what a micro shift is, right? Let's talk about why they are so important in your transformation process. As I mentioned in the description, and definition of microshifts, their benefit is that they disrupt the patterns. They help you become aware of and start disconnecting from the limiting beliefs and the stories that you've been telling yourself. They also have the benefit, again, of laying the foundation for massive transformation. Research has shown us that people are more successful in making big changes in the long run when they start with small, sustainable changes and small shifts to their way of being. So it is these micro shifts that are what you need to pave the way for your transformation, to allow you to go on this journey to your true self and allow that to unfold. Because the goal of creating these micro shifts ultimately is to begin the process of change. This is how you start to break through the barriers. This is how you get unstuck. This is how you unroot yourself and you get beyond your current reality so that ultimately you can create a new reality as you move through your transformation process. So, with these benefits and goals in mind, let's talk about some key things to keep in mind as you make micro shifts a part of your life to fuel your transformation. Now, as with many things that we talk about here on the pod, this process begins with your own self awareness. So, I would invite you, if making micro shifts is calling you, start with taking an inventory of your current routine right now and really look at how many things are you repeating every day. And of the things that you are repeating, ask yourself, does this benefit me or does this not benefit me? And maybe it's neutral, it can also be neutral. Also, maybe ask yourself, is there something that's been on your I want to try that. I want to do that list for a while that you haven't honored. Maybe you've got some items sitting on the back burner. Ask yourself, where are there opportunities to invite in some newness into your life? Now, this process of expanding our self-awareness in this space and our routines, and you can even put some of these questions to your thought patterns, or your spiritual self, your spiritual practices. But as you get curious and start to really consider where your repetition is and if your routines are benefiting or not benefiting you, this is where I would ask you to invite in some grace, some self compassion, and non judgment. Because there could be a lot of things in your life that you want to change right now, or maybe you want to change them yesterday, right? I ask that you remember we are starting small, hence the name micro shifts. And just by taking inventory, right, doesn't mean that we have to change everything all at once. So the step one is really just about expanding your awareness and looking at how your life is right now and at some things that maybe are or are not benefiting you. With that, I want to encourage you, as you are starting to think about micro shifts, and think about some of these questions, right? And reflect on these questions. I want you to find a way to make this fun. Okay. Make this an enjoyable process because that is further going to, invite in success with this process. If you can bring in play and fun to this process, it really makes it even more powerful and potent to begin the process of change and to build momentum. So, again, as you're reflecting and thinking about maybe some of those back burner things you want to do, or maybe some new experiences or ways of being you want to have, get creative, allow this to be fun, and invite in some play in this process. So, another thing, as you're kind of starting to contemplate this and get some self awareness around this, I want you to remember to keep it simple. You want to simply begin the process of change and transformation and not try to tackle it all at once. So, one way I've used this with clients is to think of everyday things that you are already doing, and add these small changes to them, right? Add these little micro shifts to them, which I'll talk about in a little bit when I go through some ideas that you might be able to bring in for your micro shifts. But as a quick example, let's say that every day you go on a walk and you walk the same path in the same direction every single day. Maybe change it up. What about, walking it in the other direction? If you always go clockwise, maybe go counterclockwise. If you always turn on the same street, maybe turn on the next street. Or maybe, every time you go to yoga class, you take the same spot. You always set up your mat in the exact same spot. What if you chose a different spot? Obviously, whatever you do, and we'll talk more about some ideas for micro shifts here in a second, but whatever you're contemplating bringing in and really expanding your awareness and brainstorming into, keep this in a good feeling space. Because there is no need to begin this process of making micro shifts by stressing yourself out about it, because that's just not going to be productive or helpful. So when you're considering, again, these micro shifts and looking for these opportunities in your life as you're just gaining more awareness of the opportunities you have, keep it good feeling, keep it fun, keep it simple. And also think about ways that you can not only disrupt your actions, but also think about ways you can disrupt all behaviors, in all of the facets of body, mind, and spirit, and really give this a holistic lens. And with that, with this holistic lens in mind and these opportunities in mind, I want to next talk to you about certain ideas for making micro shifts. All right. So I'm going to help you right now brainstorm some ideas that you could bring in to, again, make micro shifts fuel your transformation process. So again, we're looking at making this fun, right? Keeping it simple. And also looking at maybe this body, mind, and spiritual lens, kind of having some diversity in your micro shifts. So, first and foremost, I invite you to play in these possibilities. I'm going to share with you, again, just some random brainstorming options for you to consider, but you get to play in the possibilities. You get to choose what feels good for you when you make these micro shifts. So a lot of us nowadays are working from home, or even if you're still, going out to work, if you're going to an office space or a retail store, whatever it might be. Maybe when you think about your body, your physical body and micro shifts you can bring in, for my women out there, is there a new lipstick you could wear or some new eyeshadow you could put on? Right? Maybe even if you work from home, maybe you work from home a lot in your sweats or in your PJs. I know I've done it. uh, but is there a way to get dressed up a little bit more? Maybe put on a pair of heels that you really love and that make you feel really good. Maybe it's dressing up, and wearing a dress. And again, maybe this is at your home office or it's going out to an office. And same for my male listeners, maybe it's wearing a nicer pair of shoes or a nicer pair of pants or maybe you want to wear a collared shirt. Whatever really makes you feel good. It's about really thinking about what feeds your true self and what feels authentic to you. So in some other, ideas, maybe you try shopping at a new grocery store. Maybe the coffee shop that you go to, every Monday to meet with your friend. Maybe you try a new beverage. Maybe if you're not going to the coffee shop, maybe if you drink your coffee or tea at home in the morning, what if you wait an extra 15 or 20 minutes before you drink it? From a more spiritual aspect, what if, before you get up and dive right into work, what if you got up and just did a little meditation or breath work for 2 minutes? What if upon waking up, before you even get out of bed, what if you said a quick prayer in the morning or set a quick intention for your day before you let your feet hit the ground? Some other ideas here. You could do some skin brushing, before you get in the shower. Super great to clear out your lymphatic system. Um, it really can be anything you want it to be. So, think about again things that you're already doing, things that feel easy, things that are just little micro shifts to your routine, right? That you could bring in. And I want to quick talk about, some mindset work here, because I think some of the spiritual aspects, some of the physical aspects, are maybe a little easier to consider. But how do we make micro shifts in our thought patterns? Right. One practice I recently was introduced to that I just love. So if you do have some awareness, right, or if you're beginning to cultivate awareness on your thought patterns and your internal dialogue and the ways in which you're talking to yourself, maybe a lot of times you get really hard on yourself. Almost everyone I've ever met is their own worst critic, and it usually comes in the form of internal dialogue. So maybe you notice, anytime you mess up, you go, "Oh, you're so stupid." Or, "Oh, why did I do that? Like, how could I be so stupid?" Let's say that's like a common thing you are noticing that you say to yourself. So a cool and helpful micro shift I recently learned about, noticing this internal dialogue and creating a micro shift around it. In order to disrupt that pattern, think of a ridiculous word. Okay, something that almost makes you laugh. That's almost kind of comical. And when that mindset pattern, when you notice it of, say again, maybe you spill coffee, all over your counter and you go, "Oh my God, why could I be so stupid?" And you notice it. Right as you notice it, you say your funny word that you created. In the example I heard, they used the word bananas, which just saying it right now makes me giggle. So when you notice something come up, you just say your word, say bananas, say smelly feet, say snuffleupagus, right? If you remember from Sesame Street. So think of a funny word, right? And use it to disrupt your mindset pattern. And again, it is a micro shift. You don't have to disrupt your pattern and then go, oh, okay, no, actually, I love and accept myself and everything's okay. And I'm a beautiful being. You don't have to go that far. Again, we're making micro shifts right now. So again, apply this to your mindset practices as well. And get yourself right now, think about just a funny word, a funny, I love animals. So, maybe you use the word monkey or kangaroo, um, or manatee, whatever calls to you. But use it as a disruptor for your mindset patterns. So again, you've got some body, mind, and spiritual things. And I didn't expand super a lot on the spiritual things because we all have different spiritual practices. But I'll share with you one of the things I've done to make some micro shifts in my more spiritual ways of being, um, is to change up my meditation music and to also change up guided meditations that I do. So again, I'm still doing my practice, I'm not making huge changes to it. It's just simply changing up what I'm listening to as I'm doing my practice. So remember with all of this, the same old things, right? Our same old patterns are going to bring us the same old results. So, I want you to be aware this again is not about changing everything overnight. Our key here is we are beginning the process of change. We are disrupting the patterns. That's the only goal here. Because it is in this disruption of the patterns that you actually are paving the way for massive transformation to occur. These micro shifts, this disruption of patterns with these micro shifts allows you to build momentum toward that bigger transformation. So with this, I would encourage you to pick a few items. All right. Maybe you pick out one thing for your body, one thing for your mind, and one thing for your spiritual practice. And really just work on keeping it simple. Again, and once you kind of have, maybe your one or three items picked out, I would move on to this next practice, which is you track it. So you start to track your activity in these micro shifts for accountability. Okay. This is where the help of a coach like myself can be extremely helpful because we love holding you accountable and making sure you are making progress and that this stays in your, in your awareness. But it is possible to do some accountability work for yourself. And if you are going to, go into it for yourself, I would say you're not only going to be tracking the micro shifts, right, that you're making, maybe you just list out the three you want to do and every day you check off that you did them. But I also encourage you to track the changes that you are noticing. So those could be changes in your emotions. It could be changes in your energy. Could be changes in how you sleep. Could be changes in, just feeling more connected to source, more connected to your intuition. Any of the changes that you are noticing, make sure you track those too. As I've researched it and experienced it, truly one of the most helpful ways to make changes in your life is to have some accountability around making those changes. So again, simply by writing it down, checking it off, right? Putting a sentence or two around what you're noticing can be really, really helpful. So again, accountability is gonna, as you track progress, you're gonna be holding yourself accountable. It is really potent fuel for making these changes and for making greater changes in the future. And it is the progress that we make that fuels us to keep going and to stay more accountable and to really keep ourselves accountable for this transformation process. When we do this, and we start to build this momentum, you actually are building your self trust, your self confidence along the way as well, which are more great benefits. So again, if you are not out there working with a coach, if you're not, working with me or another coach, and you're in this self accountability space, I would recommend a couple of different things. Personally, like I do this myself, you guys. Pretty much everything I talk about in this podcast, I do myself. But you can get a little journal that has like some sort of habit tracker or accountability tracker. For those of you just listening, I'm holding up my journal now for my YouTube audience. And in there, again, I have these like habit trackers that go every week and I can make little check boxes on them. So you can get like a hard copy, physical journal to track, or you can create a memo in your phone. And there's also habit tracking apps on your phone that you can download and use. So if you love the technology aspect, I mean, gosh, almost all of us have our phones with us. So frequently now. So you could also consider, getting an app on your phone if that feels easier for you to monitor and track your progress. And I would just say, as you go and as you are holding yourself accountable and as you are tracking this progress, make sure you celebrate the wins as you go, and that could also look like a little micro shift too. Maybe historically, a way you love to celebrate is you have a glass of wine. Maybe instead, a way to celebrate is you go out and get yourself an organic juice at a local juice bar or try a new smoothie recipe, to celebrate or whatever lights you up in a healthy and happy way. Okay. Again, tracking is so important to help you build the momentum. So I highly encourage you as you're making these micro shifts, track what you're doing, track the habits, track the micro shifts, and track how they are making you feel in body, mind, and spirit. So again, when you use this tracking, right, for how you feel, and you are now kind of recognizing more of how it is making you feel, you can start to see what shifts am I making that are like fueling and benefiting me feeling more connected to my true self. So you're going to use your tracking to start to have awareness around what is beneficial, what is making you feel more happy, more free, more authentic. Right. And once you can kind of get some awareness around that, around what is feeling good, then you can even consider building these micro shifts into your more regular routine to fuel your transformation. So, again, as you go through this process, you might run into some things that feel really good. Using some of my previous examples, maybe you like drinking your coffee, 30 minutes later in the morning. Maybe you really enjoy getting dressed up at your home office. You love this new red lipstick or you love putting on your fancy heels at your home office. So, whether you stick with the new shift or you let it go, right? You might like some micro shifts, you might not. So, whether or not you stick with it or let it go, again, you're noticing what feels good and maybe what doesn't feel good, right? But look at what activities and what little shifts have you made that make you feel more confident, that make you feel more bold, that make you feel more authentic, make you feel more empowered, and ask yourself, are these shifts, that you've tried, are they sustainable? And can you find maybe some other little micro shifts that are sustainable if the ones you chose aren't? Right. And it is with this that you can start to again consider building these into your everyday routine and really embolden and empower your transformation. So again, it is kind of this reflection process that can help you create new routines, and or guide you in choosing other micro shifts to try out. Because again, reality is this is all about you beginning your process of change, beginning to notice what feels good as you make changes. And this is what fuels your transformation. The last thing I want to talk about in this episode with these microshifts is that you can, when momentum is built, you can continue to expand on these microshifts for, deepening your transformation work. So I'm not going to talk about it in depth in this episode, but I do want you to know, once you have laid this foundation and you have begun your process of change and you've maybe mastered making these micro shifts in your life and you've taken notice of what feels good and what makes you more happy and makes you feel more authentic, that is when you can use this awareness and this momentum to up level to the next phase. And again, really simply, this could look like bringing in bigger changes, increasing the frequency or duration of the changes you've already made, or just taking on the next prioritized change that you want to tackle on your journey. The good news is, since you've worked with and you've begun to master making your micro shifts, you have begun the process of change. And that is what lays the foundation for your massive transformation. Okay, tribe. That is it for this episode on making microshifts for massive transformation. I hope I've got you feeling ready and willing to really just take this first step to empower your transformation journey by making microshifts. Remember, as the name implies, I want you to start with small changes and keep them simple, and also make them fun if you can too. Remember to play in the possibilities. All right, you can go back and listen to some of the ideas I shared in this episode, or super fun, I have a new free guide for you to get access to even more ideas, tips, and tricks for making microshifts. And keep in mind, again, that as you're making these microshifts, you are laying the foundation. You are paving the way for your massive transformation. And know that truly and deeply, I believe in you and I believe in your transformation. And I will be over here cheering you on the whole way. Remember, if you want to go farther on this journey and deepen the work on your recovery and your transformation, make sure you check out my new membership, the Alchemize Collective, where I've created a sacred transformational container for all of us to do the work of addiction recovery, trauma healing, and personal transformation together. You can email me. You can check out the description below or sign up for a clarity call for more information. And again, make sure you grab my new free guide, Making Microshifts for Massive Transformation, in the episode description so you can start your process of change and transformation today. Okay, tribe, let's remember this is all about making the world a more beautiful place. And that begins with you. Because as you better yourself and you move through your recovery and transformation journey, you are beautifying our world. As always, I appreciate you being here. And of course, if you need support on your journey as you are working through breaking the cycles of addiction and suffering, and you're healing your trauma, or even as you are preparing for or integrating your plant medicine journeys, make sure you grab your free clarity call with me below, because I would be so honored to guide you on your personal transformation. But that is all for today, tribe. Until next time, much love to you all. Hey, tribe. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button below and then click subscribe so you catch future episodes. And remember, I've got lots of free resources for you to learn about the powers of intentional plant medicine use in order to support your trauma healing and personal transformation journey. So make sure you check them out in the description below and help in making this a more beautiful world for us all. Thanks again for tuning in, tribe. And until next time, much love to you all.